Hello everyone, I'm Darren with VibeTheNook.com, and today we're going to take a look at Metroid Zero Mission, which released for the Game Boy Advance back in 2004. This is essentially an enhanced remake of the original Metroid, which released for the NES in 1987. The game reviewed incredibly well when it was originally released, and the general consensus among the Metroid community is that it still holds up pretty well today. Now, this is one of those retro games where it can be pretty expensive if you're going to look to pick up a copy of it, even if you're just looking to get the loose cartridge. Now, anytime that a retro game starts to be more expensive than a modern game, it's really only natural to ask if it's really worth that sort of asking price. Metroid Zero Mission improves on everything from the original. The GBA had a much better sound chip than the NES did, and that makes the music far more effective in creating the sense of isolation that the series is known for. The graphics are also updated to look almost identical to Super Metroid. After you beat the final boss, Zero Mission also adds an all-new epilogue. Zero Mission's story starts the same way as the original game. Space pirates have attacked a research vessel and captured the Metroids that were being experimented on. Samus has been tasked by the Galactic Federation to head to their base on the planet Zebes, and her mission is to infiltrate their base and eliminate the threat posed by the stolen Metroids. To do this, she will have to destroy Mother Brain, the life form in command of the space pirates. Occasionally there are parts of the story that will be told through these brief animations. These are very impressive for the Game Boy Advance, and they don't play very often, but whenever they do come up they make a big impression. The NES obviously wasn't capable of anything close to this. They give the game a more cinematic feel and are a welcome addition. The core gameplay loop is the same here as it is in pretty much every other Metroid game. Explore the map until you hit some sort of roadblock, and then either backtrack until you find a different way forward, or an item or upgrade that lets you get around that roadblock. Most upgrades are pretty easy to find, but every once in a while there will be either an energy tank or a missile expansion that's placed in a tricky spot. It isn't by any means required to find all of the missile expansions and energy tanks, but even without a guide, it really isn't that hard to find most of them. The most notable improvement over the original is the addition of a map. The original had no in-game map whatsoever. This meant that the player would either wander around aimlessly for hours, or take out some graph paper and start to draw their own map. Zero Mission also has a few points where the game literally points you directly to where you're supposed to go next, and this definitely makes this version of the game feel much more linear than the original. This also debatably takes away from the open-ended exploration that the original had. However, there's really nothing forcing the player to follow these directions. You're still free to explore the game at your own pace. Exploration is a fairly straightforward process, but sometimes you'll come across areas with false hazards. There will be places with acid or lava that just disappears as soon as you step into it. This is really annoying because the rest of the game trains you not to go into the lava or acid, and here, you have to go into it just to progress. The game has a good combination of familiar power-ups from the original, as well as power-ups created for later Metroid games. The Morph Ball, Charge Beam, and Bombs are all present in both Zero Mission and the NES original. Metroid Zero Mission also has the Space Jump, introduced in Metroid 2, and the Speed Boost, which was introduced in Super Metroid. Zero Mission also introduces the Power Grip, which allows Samus to grab onto ledges. And it's never really made clear exactly why Samus needs a power-up just to grab onto a ledge, but here we are. Metroid Zero Mission introduces a lot of boss fights that were never in the original. The bosses are all fun to fight, and most are well designed. However, many of them feel like they were made just to pad out the game and make it seem like it's a little bit longer than it actually is. The only boss fights that the original had, outside of the final boss, were Kraid and Ridley. These fights are recreated in Zero Mission, but now they're both identical to their encounters in Super Metroid. After defeating Mother Brain, Samus attempts to flee the planet in her ship. She removes her power suit to rest, but is shot back down to the surface. She lands close to the space pirate mothership and decides to infiltrate. She does this with the hope of finding a way to restore her power suit and escape the planet for good. This epilogue is short, but this is what the Zero Suit design for Samus was originally created for. During this section, the only weapon that you will have access to is a pistol. The pistol will charge automatically, and if you shoot a space pirate with a full charge, it will be stunned for a short time. Otherwise, it'll do nothing. You're really too weak to actually fight any of the space pirates in the mothership, so this part is sort of a stealth section. When you eventually do regain your power suit, you're able to get your revenge on these guys and take them all out in one hit, which feels very satisfying. Our final score for this game is going to be 8 out of 10. This really is a fantastic remake that makes going back to the original feel sort of pointless. I mean, it improves everything that made the original good while also fixing everything that makes it feel outdated. And it's also a very short game. My playthrough took about 4 or 5 hours to finish, and I collected about 55% of the items. Now, it is a little bit hard to say that a game that short is really worth a high asking price like this, but there actually is a decent amount of replay value here. It is a lot of fun to go back through it again to try and get either a higher completion rate or a shorter completion time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, let us know by giving it a thumbs up and tell us about it in the comment section down below. That sort of thing really helps the channel grow. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here and check out vibethenook.com for more gaming related content. And also check out all of our social media pages. I will leave links to all of that in the description box. Thank you again for watching. I hope to see you next time.